We talked. We had some counseling yesterday. So we talked. These lights are so bright.
Happy Tuesday, October 13th, 2020. Just 3 weeks away from Election Day. But we'll get into all that a little bit later. But I want to welcome everybody this morning. I hope you're doing well. Those of us that are living in the facility and perhaps some families that are watching on YouTube, we welcome you to our show. I'm your Tuesday host, David Pomeranz, joined with other hosts in the building, including my friend over there, I haven't seen you in a while.
I know.
How are you? Everything well with you?
Everything's well. Thank you.
I thought we'd start with some of the basic elements and then we'll expand from there a little bit, but I did want to say that today's one of those days where it's not a bad thing to throw on the television and relax and stay indoors. It's not a nice day today. It's one of those raw fall days. It's going to be rainy. It's going to be cool. It's going to be much better later in the week. I think Wednesday and Thursday are going to be nice. So you're looking at today, in 50s and chilly and rainy, and probably one of those days to enjoy the beauty of indoors. If you're on a floor where you can get out today and move around the home, it's one of those days to get some exercise inside, say hello to some people, and enjoy being not wet. It's not a pleasant day to be outside. By the way, Anne Weisbrod is my guest today and my co-host, so maybe we'll go to a two-shot because you can certainly opine on the weather if you choose.
Oh, it's yucky out. Nah, not worth going out.
It's one of those days that remind you that summer's over and we're heading to weather which is not so nice, which has implications. Kath and I were talking a little bit about the pandemic and sort of our concerns, which I talked about a little bit last week, of things popping up around the New York area. And it's one of those days where you're reminded people are going to be indoors more and closer together, and it's going to be more of a challenge for the society at large and so forth. So enjoy the day inside. I think there's some great programming on Channel 8 today, and perhaps some things that will be moving around on your floors, and perhaps take a chance to talk to somebody new you haven't talked to before. Always a good idea to do that. This date in history, October 13th, a couple of things happened. Let's go first to 1775. None of us were around for that. But it was a big day with the Continental Congress creating the first naval force. It's interesting. We take for granted some of the things, the naval academies and the military and things. There were people that set these things up years ago. Back in 1775, they had the wisdom and strength. They created a naval force, which is part of today's military protection for our country and so forth. So that's this date in 1775. And perhaps somebody has ancestors that go back to that. We don't know that. It's possible. We could have relatives in those meetings.
Yeah.
Anne knows everybody. It's possible. I talked to Anne. This was my first digression of the morning. You can talk to Anne about anybody Jewish you've met in any part of your life. And she went to their camp. She went to their brother from the butcher shop. She traveled with them once to Israel. She knows everybody. So I checked her.
I don't know.
Test her. She's the Kevin Bacon.
I'm not sure how many Jewish people there were in that committee to form the Navy.
Probably not many. But every time I run into somebody, you know
that's true.
My dermatologist.
We grew up together.
My yearly check and Anne knew her. That makes me a little nervous. Switching to 1967, a little bit more recent times, some 50-some years ago, the American Basketball Association was formed. Now, the ABA does not exist anymore, but it became part of the NBA, which just had their finals. Anybody know who won the finals?
The Lakers.
Lakers won the finals. They beat the Heat in Game 6 on Sunday night. And the ABA was really founded around certain superstars like Dr. J. You might have heard that name. Dr. Julius Erving wasn't really a doctor. He was a doctor on the basketball court. And the ABA had some different elements to it. It had a red, white, and blue ball. They had three-point shots. Some of the elements of the ABA moved into the NBA and they merged. And are all part of the NBA now, but that was, gosh, that not terribly interesting to the people I'm sitting with today.
No, but are three-point shots only in college basketball or in both regular
They're
too?
pro, but it started in the ABA.
Oh,
And interestingly enough, when you get fouled in the NBA, you know what happens? You take 2 free throws.
yeah.
The ABA had something very different. Those who sports fans, a little bit of trivia for you. They had 3 for 2. Kind of like at a carnival. You could, to make your 2 shots, you had 3 chances. So if you made the first 2, you're done. But if you needed a third, you had a third. Now that doesn't exist in the NBA, but if you are fouled on a 3-point shot in the NBA today, you get 3 foul shots. So a little bit of non-interesting trivia for you this morning.
Sounds like math.
2010, on a more serious note, if you remember the Chilean miners that were trapped and the whole world stood by and watched, I think they made a movie out of it over the last few years. I didn't see it because it's not top of my movie list, but they lived for 69 days and they were rescued on this date in 2010.
Wow. I can't believe
There are
that's
certain things.
so
There's a
long.
baby that was caught once in a well. There's certain stories that captivate the, what was that? It was
Baby Jasmine or something like
she
that?
fell into a
She
well.
fell, yeah.
She was fine, happy ending, right? And the miners were all fine, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what that does to you to be underground for 69 days. Probably not a great feeling. Those two have been stuck in an elevator for 20 minutes. You can't complain.
2 minutes.
Bill Clinton. Maybe somebody's contesting the ABA NBA merger. Is it for us?
It's an outside line.
Okay. That's one just won the lottery. Birthdays today. Now, we didn't have any resident birthdays today, but we do have a bunch of staff birthdays. Do I do the full name on the staff, or I just do the initial?
I usually just do first name and department.
Okay, so we have Marcia from food service. Happy birthday to Marcia. If you know Marcia and you see her around, wish her a happy birthday. Carl from housekeeping. Marie P. from nursing. Jessica P. from nursing administration. And from the museum staff, Thiago S. We're all celebrating birthdays today, so very happy birthday on October 13th. I would not want to be born on the 13th.
Of any month, right?
I'm a little bit of a 13 thing going on.
Especially if it lands on a
And
Friday.
also, and I don't know if anybody in their travels, when you stay at hotels, oftentimes it goes 12, 14,
14.
whatever. And I was recently in one that had a 13 before this whole pandemic started. I thought that was really bold.
A lot of office buildings also covered up a 13th
But
floor.
some do still have it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's hard to find that number 13 to put in the bucket. Probably it's unusual to do. Would you stay on a 13th floor, Kath?
No, because I watched this horror movie when I was younger about the 13th floor. I think it was called the 13th floor.
Allison, would you stay on the 13th floor?
Sure.
No concerns.
No concern.
You want to step on a crack on your way out the door, too?
And break a window. A mirror, I mean.
I like black cats, so
Okay.
13 doesn't scare me.
Okay.
Yeah, I would.
And I would not. In fact, when you're on the 14th floor, if you really think about it.
You're on the 13th, right, that's why.
Famous birthdays today. Paul Simon.
Oh.
Simon and Garfunkel celebrated his birthday today. And Paul Simon, in full disclosure, no HIPAA violations. We took care of one of his family members, so we have a little connection to Paul Simon.
Yeah.
And Marie Osmond, if those of you remember.
How old is
Donnie
she?
Marie.
How old is she now?
I think she's in her 60s today. It's not polite to ask, so I didn't ask her. But my guess is, since we watched the Donnie Marie.
Yeah,
show,
that's why
probably
I'm
right.
wondering.
That's it. Okay. Moving to the menu for today. I wake up thinking about lunch and dinner. Did you have breakfast this morning?
Yeah, but I'm not going to admit what I had because I'm a terrible eater.
Would it be a cereal of a junky nature?
It would be one Pop-Tart and a Tate's cookie
So this
I love Tate's.
Tate's cookies is a different conversation.
and coffee.
An article published recently about power failures. And there was a list of things that people do when there's a power failure, snowstorm, electrical storms. What do people do? They get batteries, they prepare certain things, and the number one food item that they get to have on to hand are Pop-Tarts.
Oh, I have like 300 of them in my house.
I'll tell you what the most popular flavor is for people to do that with.
Blueberry.
Frosted strawberry. The most popular Pop-Tart flavor.
I have that at home.
And
Correct.
I have them all.
if there's a blackout tonight, you're covered.
I'm covered for months.
These things to wonder what people have. The Pop-Tarts sort of live forever. Right?
But the problem is you eat a Pop-Tart and you're hungry approximately 2.5 minutes later. But all right.
It's like Chinese. Yeah. But we're not having Pop-Tarts today, though. If you need one, Annie could probably hook you up.
Don't ask what I have for lunch.
Lunch today is grilled vegetable
Cheese
soup.
doodles.
We have beef and pasta as an entree. It's nice to say something other than bologna. Beef and pasta, and applesauce for dessert, and you have your regular alternatives should you choose to have them. Dinner, soup is minestrone. I've never had that.
No, me neither.
Have you ever had that?
What does it look like?
I don't know. I think it's like brothy with vegetables.
Yeah, it looks like all the other ones. I think maybe it has a bean in it.
Never had minestrone.
And
I think it has celery.
Eggplant parmesan for dinner, with linguine with garlic olive
That
oil.
sounds
on the
good.
side.
That sounds good.
dinner. And an orange sorbet for dessert. So that includes your meals, your birthdays, your dating histories. At the end of the show, Allison was reminding me that it's Hispanic Heritage Month, and there'll be some videos to enjoy at the end of this program. So, about how long are the videos?
about 5 minutes.
Okay, so we'll end about 5 minutes before 11 to do that, which gives you about 12 or 13 minutes to talk to
Okay.
you.
Yay.
Now, you said you had a resident council meeting yesterday,
Yep, we did.
which you've been doing for many, many years.
So yeah, we've been doing them for years, but it's so different now because Zelda and I come down here and we talk to we talk to ourselves, but we know we're talking to everybody out there. The nice thing now is because they're on TV and they're shown, you don't have to technically, quote unquote, be a member. You don't have to come down to a meeting. You can watch it in your room. So hopefully we're actually reaching even more people than we generally reach. But I encourage everyone to tune in the second and fourth Monday of every month. You can dial in with questions. So it's a great opportunity to hear what's going on. We've been giving updates, COVID updates, voting updates, census updates.
So for the structure of this, there are people representing, it's like the government, right? There are people elected to represent from different floors. If people have not yet been involved, how would somebody become involved if they
So
wanted to be?
actually, when I took over the resident council, which is a little over 10 years ago, I think, it used to be that there were elections and each floor could only have 2 representatives. And when I took it over, I decided that that seemed unfair to limit it so much. So we basically opened it up, and since then, it's really anyone from any floor who wants to be involved just has to let the social worker know, let me know, and they will get invitations, right before each meeting. Generally, what we do is we do it on a yearly basis, but people can join at any time. They can join mid-year, end of the year, and starting at around beginning of January, we start the new council for the new year. What we do have is elections for chairperson. So if people are interested in that, they usually have to reach out to me a little ahead of time, then they present their platform, and we have an election. But really, I welcome anyone who wants to be a member of the council to come.
It's their role in having a voice in what goes on here, right? This is their home. They have a chance to advocate and to express opinions.
So the one thing that I try to get across is that it's not really a place to vent your own personal issues as much as it is to represent your neighborhood, your peers. So that when you bring an issue down to resident council, it should be something that at least a few people might be experiencing, or even if you're experiencing it on your own, to see if other people are also having those concerns or problems or suggestions. And the idea then is, and of course now with the pandemic it's a little harder because we're not having floor meetings, but the idea is that if you're in the resident council from, let's say, RP6, then you're going to a floor meeting on RP6 and you're letting them know what was discussed at the council and asking your peers, what would you like to see happen, changed, suggestions, anything, and you bring it back to the council, and we look at all different ideas. We also have different department heads coming to address issues within their own departments that come up, because again, it's your meeting, it's not my meeting. I tell everybody that all the time. I'm just the staff person helping to facilitate. But for example, yesterday there were some questions about nursing and staff. So we're going to invite Moji to come to the next meeting and give an update on just what's going on within the nursing department.
So we've been virtual now for a few months.
Oh, like about 4 or 5 months already. Yeah, we've been doing it.
In a perfect world, when things get back to normal, people be in a room together and hear each other. And
Yeah, normally we're in the library, and we get about 40 people, and it's nice because, people also can feed off each other in terms of, one resident says something, someone else can either agree, disagree. We sometimes have very lively, heated discussions. Sometimes everyone, is on the same page, but that's okay too, because it is your place to advocate for yourselves. It's it's really giving you an opportunity to say what's on your mind.
So, and since you've been involved in this, either directly or indirectly, for many years, has it changed a lot? Do people feel more opinionated? Do you feel that people these days are speaking up more? Like, how would you assess change over time? The reason I ask is because I find in the world today, because of the polarized nature of the way we are with our politics, that really people are much more contentious and fervent about issues. I wonder if that translates into our environment.
So, over the years, what I definitely have seen is the population that's coming now, and I think maybe that's, we're also getting a little bit of a younger population now. We're getting people who have real opinions, who have real thoughts, who are, really can be rational and think things through so they can see both sides sometimes. But people are not shy. People are very willing to disagree, to agree to disagree. People are very, very vocal. Whereas it used to be people were much more quiet. They would be quiet and almost wait just to be told whatever the agenda was, they were listening. Now it's a much more interactive experience.
So without getting into politics, right, in terms of what parties and so forth, in your outside life, you're a social worker by training, and you're very astute at reading people and times. How do you assess what's going on in the world in terms of, again, forgetting which side anybody's on, the decorum of people, the way that people discuss issues related to politics? Today you have the Supreme Court thing going on today, where they're a hearing to decide if a new justice can be. How do you assess what's going on in the world? Is it COVID intensified? Is it a subject of the times? How would you give people perspective on what you're seeing in the world?
The only way my way of really answering that question is to take it into my own personal life and just let you know that I have made it very clear in my own because people are so contentious and people are just, it's one way, you're either this way or you're this way. There seems to be no ability to meet anywhere in the middle. Even, if I'm out with my friends, most of us are generally on the same page, but if we even want to talk about someone who's not, people get very nasty with each other. I know within my own family, I've made it very clear because I have a mother who has one set of opinions, and I have a daughter who has a completely other set of opinions. The rest of us can sort of hold our own, but the two of them, I've made it clear they cannot talk politics ever in my presence, because there's just no give and take. There's just...
It just seems like that middle is gone.
The middle.
It's either you are or you aren't.
And I think, unfortunately, because people, and I see it certainly in my mom's generation, she's 89, they're stuck at home much more than they ever were before. The news is on 24/7, regardless of what channel news you listen to. So it's all she can talk about. I can't even go over and say hello without I get a whole political discussion. And, which is, so I don't think COVID has helped.
I want to get to news for a second, but do you think the pandemic, you mentioned people are home more, they're watching it more, that's maybe a generation, but do you find the pandemic is playing into this polarization? Do you think that people are more tense and they're more frustrated? Do you think that that's part of all
I
this?
do, and I think, look, everybody's looking to blame somebody for COVID. That in and of itself has become a political issue. So, I do.
Because I'm on the board of my, where I live, it's a community, and I find that people are just so much angrier about everything, or it might be, and these issues that come up in these homeowner associations are, the dogs going to the bathroom in somebody else's yard, or somebody's fence is this, or they're not major life-threatening issues, but the passion people have for them, I feel it's really been driven by the frustration, and, people are stuck at home, they're bored, they're lonely, they're angry. Liberties have been taken away from people.
And I think now, I think it's almost like that, whatever beliefs they had that they might have at one point been able to have a nice, rational conversation with someone and say, all right, we'll agree to disagree. There's no such thing anymore. I don't, you see, we go out for dinner with your friends and you talk about someone else who likes a different political party.
Friendships are ending.
And
if you were like this candidate, people are writing you off, or
people
that candidate.
jumping right down your throat, and it's a shame because, there are other ways to communicate, and it's too bad that we've come to that point.
You mentioned the news, and it's sort of a nostalgic standpoint too for our residents who would wake up and get the newspaper, and that's how they would get their news. They would read what took place. The columnists would write and 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. It would go to the printing press, it'd be delivered, they get it at the store, and that's how you consume your news. By the time the newspaper comes today, it's old news.
Right.
Because 12 hours have gone by, there's new things on TV, so news is very different.
It is.
Well, certainly from our generation, and we're a generation earlier than the generation that are living here, but it's very different.
Look, we have our phones now. You know, the minute the news story comes on, it pops on my phone. I don't even have a chance to turn the news on or open the paper. It pops on the phone. But, you know, again, the older generation, they're not carrying their phones the way we are.
And they would tune in at 7 o'clock to see Walter Cronkite or Dan Rather or any of these great news people who would read them the news, and that would be the way they would get it.
But
today it's
very different. Yeah, now it's instant for us. But I'm going to tell you, my mother sits literally 24/7 with the news on in the apartment, and
I'm not sure if that's good or not.
it's terrible. I say to her all the time,
anxiety
put something else on. Watch The Crown. Watch. We gave you Netflix. My daughter put it on her TV. I don't know. You know what? It is what it is.
It's one of those things which really is very different, though. The ability to turn off, even, you know, when Anne and I, in our careers here, when we finish our day at work, and we've been here quite a while together, you'd get in your car and you'd drive home, and now the car is just another vehicle for communication.
Yeah.
Emails and texts are going on.
Bluetooth, you're talking,
Right.
you know.
There's really no end to the workday, and that we're not unique. This is the way the world is. People sign off from their desk, or maybe they sign off from their computer in their house now, but things never stop. The world is going, the businesses never end, the expectations are different.
Yeah.
If I said to you, I wrote to you last night and you didn't write back to me till the next day, I would think something was wrong.
Something's wrong. That's right. Exactly true.
We write to each other instantly. I don't know how many of our residents are texting, but certainly your family members are. Texting is instant, and I think that, you know, that if people knew how much texting was going on, they would be, you know, it's endless. People don't call each other anymore.
Let me tell you, I go to a restaurant. If I'm lucky enough to go to a restaurant with my entire family at one time, my husband's on his phone, my 2 daughters are on their phone. I forget half the time, I don't bring it. And I'm just sitting there by myself. I might as well be at another table sitting with other people because nobody's talking to me. But that's the world.
If you walk through the streets, and of course it's a little different now, but let's go pre-pandemic. When you're walking down the streets, people have their heads in their phones. They're crossing the street, they're reading the phone. And unfortunately, they're driving and looking at their phones. It's really, you know, I'm looking around to my colleagues here on the phone in the studio. We're always on our phones. It's really what goes on. And talking to you always goes very quickly because we're already at the end of our time because we have to switch to the video. So thank you as always.
Thank you for having me.
And joining us and sharing your thoughts and the work you're doing here at the home, which is outstanding. So we're going to switch to some videos and then we'll wrap up after. Allison, is that correct? So it's Hispanic Heritage Month. And we'll cue the video.
Good morning. My name is Migdalia Prasad. I'm a resident here at Hebrew Home. I've been here 5 years ago. It's lovely. It's so nice. I was born on 110th Street and my parents are from Puerto Rico. Both my mother and father. Fortunately, they both deceased. I like the Puerto Rican Day Parade. My mother used to take all 7 of us to the parade on Central Park and listen to the Spanish drum, dance like this.
Mi nombre es Melissa y yo soy de la playa de Guayanés, en Puerto Rico, donde nació mi mamá y mi papá. Y yo.
Mi nombre es Victoria Ruiz, soy puertorriqueña y vivo orgullosamente de mi país.
Yo soy boricua, me llamo Enigela, solita de corazón. Aleluya. Amén. Yo no digo que estoy aquí. José Augusto.
Andaluzo, la calle de Puerto Rico, nací en la República Dominicana, pero vivo en Puerto Rico, me gusta Acapulco, pastel de hoja, bocadillo, mango, pana, aleluya, y me gusta. Viva Puerto Rico, aleluya.
llegué a este país bien jovencita. Aquí estudié. Hice mi correa aquí en Nueva York. Mi esposo fue Sisto Laureano, que fue congresista de Nueva York. Eleanor Roosevelt hizo política para él. Y yo me hice una diseñadora, a cual estoy siempre orgullosa de haber tenido mi trabajo, porque me gustó muchísimo. Gracias.
Mi nombre es Nori María Dávila. Nací en Toabá, Puerto Rico, Bayamón. Y bueno, la comida, a mí me gusta todo. A mí me gusta comer de todo, Pasteles, molitos fritos, pero con cocidito, que no esté crudo. Ay, María, me encanta, también puedo de goma ya. De todo me gusta, bailar. El baile me encanta. Yo no sé con la música.
Nombre es Lucilda González Velázquez Ramos Ruiz, de un barrio de Yauco, Puerto Rico.
¿Y la comida?
La comida fue la comida arroz con gandules, plátano frito y carne guisada.
Me dicen, allá en Puerto Rico todo el mundo me dice chiqui, pero soy paulaina.
¿Y tus comidas? ¿Qué comidas te gustan?
Todas.
¿Cómo cuál?
Como todas. Arroz, habichuela.
Llamo una cantadora, soy de Ponce, Puerto Rico. Me siento orgullosa de ser de Ponce, Puerto Rico, y me gusta la comida y la música de Puerto Rico.
¿Y su nombre?
Mi nombre es Olga Prieto.
¿Y las comidas cubanas que le gustan?
Las comidas cubanas que me gustan son todas. La ropa vieja, el yuca con mojo, el arroz con gris, pero en general todo.
Todo.
Pero la española también, porque sabía cocinar la comida española también.
That was great. So again, it's Hispanic Heritage Month. That's all of October, I guess. So thank you for those wonderful videos. Who filmed those, Allison?
The TAP team, Lisa and Tiffany and...
So congratulations to the TAP team for doing that. It's awesome. Thank you. And I think that's it for us. And so we're right at 11 o'clock. So we wish everybody a happy and wonderful Tuesday, October 13th. Stay dry, stay engaged, keep on Channel 8, and we'll see you next week.